Hi everyone, welcome back to So Arizona. Today we are planting a salad garden on my patio, and I want to show you how you can grow so much food in a tiny space, even if you just have a few pots or maybe a raised bed, a stock tank like I have. Right now I just have 4 12-inch pots and I have a 4-foot stock tank, but you can do so many different things in such a little bit of space. Today we are planting leafy greens. We are planting lettuces, kales, bok choy. I've also got some radish and carrots and some peas going in the ground, and I'm so excited to share this with you. This little area right here is just a grouping of 4 pots, as I said, and then the stock tank behind me. Now, this summer I had a tomato growing in here, and I also had a tomato in this blue pot right here. And I had a zucchini in this one, which has long since gone. And then my dwarf runner beans, which I want to talk about in just a minute here. And then in this last pot, I have my variegated peppermint. And what's interesting about this plant is that some of it is variegated and some of it is not. So I'm just going to trim this back because I do enjoy it with tea, and it'll do well in the cool weather. But for the most part, the rest of this is going to go away, with the exception, of course, of these little alpine strawberries and a little tiny bit of lavender that I have back here that I just love. Being able to walk out of my back door right here and smell that, it is so lovely. So I think that the peppermint will stay, the lavender will stay, and these alpine strawberries will stay. I really enjoy these alpine strawberries. I have a mix of white and red, and they're really tiny, actually, just enough for a bite-sized piece. They produce a fruit that's about the size of a jelly bean, which may not seem like a lot, but they're pretty prolific, and I've been able to get a handful throughout the cool months, and that is all I need for my oatmeal just to put on top. And they are so flavorful. So even though they're small, they're really flavorful compared with bigger strawberries. So I love these. These struggled through the hot months. They've been in this tub now for 2 years, and I started them from seeds, and they just keep coming back. As the weather cools, they start to rebound, and then they get more prolific every year. So I'm really excited to see how they do this year. If you're looking for some strawberries to grow that are really tough and that will just give you a handful of strawberries every day, you don't maybe want to deal with preserving or having a lot of strawberries on hand, then I think these are a great option. I will put a photo of the seed packet right here so that you can see which ones I'm using. So I want to talk about variety selection for the rest of these tubs. When you're growing in a really small space, you need to find varieties that are container friendly. And over the years, I've been able to find quite a few, some for the warm season and some for the cool season. And every year I trial a few more, and I've got some for you here that I don't think I've mentioned before. Let's chit chat while we clean out these tubs, and I'm going to show you exactly which varieties I'm planting in each pot. Just a little bit of housekeeping. If you want to know when I have a new video published, just hit the little bell at the bottom of your screen, and then you can be notified whenever I release a new video. My viewership has been down a little bit in the last couple of months, and I've gotten some emails from some of you saying, I thought that you weren't producing any more videos, but then when I went out to look at your channel, I saw that you've actually been releasing videos every week just like usual, and yet they are not showing up in the feed. The only way I know how to fix that and to let you know when I release a new video is to have you hit the little notification bell below, so that way you know each time there's a new one for you to watch. Also, I wanted to let you know that I put together a brand new guide on Bermuda grass. I go through the history, the physical characteristics, how you can use some of those physical traits or weaknesses to battle Bermuda grass more effectively. I know so many of you have Bermuda grass in your gardens just like I do, and it is such a constant struggle. But I have found quite a bit of success by using some methods based upon the weaknesses of that Bermuda grass and timing of when to do those types of treatments. So if you would like to check that out, I will put a link to my website in the description below, and I hope that it helps you as much that it's helped me. In this first pot, I've got a couple different things. I have this cute little bok choy. This is truly a tiny, tiny variety. You can see this little boy is holding these little things in their hands, and they really are like a single serving little bok choy. I have grown them in previous seasons, and they will give you a bok choy about the size of your hand. I'm going to be combining that with this purple lady bok choy, and I have grown this over the years, and it is so beautiful. So I think that the mixture between these little green ones and these purple ones, which you can harvest either as babies to match this size, or you can let them grow a little bigger, will be a really beautiful combination. So I'm going to be combining those. Initially, I thought I would put the prism kale in here too, and I'm not sure about that yet. So I've got a little maybe pile up here, so I'm just going to put those prism kales up here. And that the prism kale is a really nice compact variety, by the way, in case you're wanting a kale that will grow really well in a pot. This one's prolific and super compact. Love that one. So in this pot, I'm going to be combining lettuces. This one is Pomegranate Crunch, and it's a really cute purple variety, and it's delicious and prolific. And I'm going to combine that with this new variety for me, and this is a container lettuce. It's a sweet baby romaine. So both of these are a romaine style lettuce, so they'll have a similar size and water needs. And they're also different colors. So I've got red and green. So I think that's going to be a really beautiful combination. And then over on this side, I'm going to be having some more lettuce. This is a little gem romaine and a Tom Thumb butterhead. And I like this combination, even though they're both green, because one of them says 35 to 50 days and the other one says 75. So I can have some sooner and some later, which is kind of a form of succession planting. So I will start eating the Tom Thumb first, and then by the time that is finished, then I will be able to harvest the little gem. So I'll put those over here. And then I've also got a few other things that I'm going to be planting. And amongst all of this, I'm going to be planting these early scarlet globe radishes. These will be done in 20 to 30 days. So by the time this lettuce and bok choy need their space, these radishes will be harvested and gone. So I really love being able to do that. And then up here, let's talk about this. In the stock tank behind me, I have window box basil. And I know that it doesn't look very small right now, but it was actually a really cute 10 to 12 inch plant for quite a while during the summer. But I stopped picking it because I had been away and it started to bolt and go to flower. So I just let it go because the bees really like it. But it was a really manageable size. So this is a great one to include in your summer garden if you're looking for a compact basil plant. They do get really big and wild, so this was a great choice. I'm going to be removing it now because I'm finished with it, and I still have some other basil in the garden that's doing well for the rest of the fall season. And I want this for something else. I'm going to be planting a mixture of things in here. So around the sides, in the front, I'm going to be planting these Tom Thumb peas. And these are a really cute pea. They really only get to about 6 to 8 inches tall, which is crazy, and they produce a lot of really sweet peas, and I love being able to just grab a handful of them and toss them onto my salad. And then in the back, I'm going to be doing some chives followed by some carrots. And I want to show you these carrots because they are so adorable. I don't think I can pronounce these, but I can guarantee you these were delicious. They were bite-sized, and they were delicious and sweet, and they grew really well last year in a container. So if you are looking just for a little splash of carrot taste, these are a really great option. So I'm going to be removing this basil, and I will put peas in the front, followed by some carrots, and then some chives, or vice versa. I'm not sure yet which I will put first. I'm going to put the tallest thing in the back. That way, then these strawberries can be left alone, and the lavender, of course, and I will have myself a delicious little salad garden here. So let's get started. First of all, I want to say that I put brand new compost and potting soil in these pots when I was planting my warm season things. And even though those were hungry varieties, these other varieties that I am planting today are not hungry varieties. So I think that I can get plenty more life out of the soil before I have to top it off. So I'm going to wait to top off this container area right here with new compost for the spring when I'm planting other hungry vegetables. But right now these leafy greens are not really going to require much, and these pots have plenty of nutrients left for those. So that's the first thing. If you're planting in pots, make sure you're checking on your soil. You should be topping your soil off at least once a season. The first thing I did before I even started talking with you all is look for snakes. So I have a long handled shovel that works really well for lifting up things and kind of poking around. So I have been really careful ever since finding that big rattlesnake back here. So I did that first. And the second thing that I did is I put on my gloves because I do have a lot of black widow spiders out here. I also found a scorpion for the first time in my garden just this week. It was out in the garden beds, but there have been a lot of crickets around here and other little bugs. So I want to make sure, just in case they're here to hunt, that I don't run into any of them either. So I have my gloves, I've checked for snakes. Now I'm going to be harvesting this peppermint. I'm going to be saving some of this peppermint for a nice cup of tea. I might put some of it in my dehydrator because I really hate to waste it. So I want to dry it. That way I can have some nice teas later on when it is a little bit chilly outside. And if I don't want to come out here and pick any fresh, I will have it inside. But I want to stress the importance of growing your mint and peppermint in a pot. Whether you have catnip or peppermint or spearmint or regular mint or chocolate mint, whatever mint you have, it spreads and takes over. And so I find that I really like to have it in my garden, but I like to have it in my garden in a controlled way in a container. So I always keep it in a little pot, and it's right outside my door because it is way more convenient to go reach for when I want it. So I'm going to be trimming this back. If you have peppermint and you're a little worried about it, don't be. Peppermint or mint of any kind is really, really tough, and it will just spring right back after you give it a little haircut. So I'm just going to do that. That way it gives me a little more room for the rest of my plants that I'm going to be growing here. I want to make sure everybody's got enough elbow room. I'd really like to have an extra pot to be able to plant a few more leafy greens in, but I really like this peppermint and I just don't think there's enough space over here in this corner to put anything else without it looking kind of crammed and junky. So I am just going to try to control myself and only have what I need here. All right, so that is nice and tidy. I like the way that looks. It was starting to flower a little bit, so it's probably good that I gave it a bit of a haircut here and trimmed all those flowers off. Let's talk about this runner bean. This is the dwarf scarlet runner bean, and I got it from Renee's Garden Seeds. It was supposed to be really container friendly, and it was. It stayed compact like it was supposed to, but it was really hot out here, and it just ended up dropping all of its blooms when it was hot. And that's pretty common for beans. A lot of times they will drop their blooms and not produce any fruits if it's over 90 degrees or so. And this one was no exception. So I think I have one bean. Yeah, one bean right here. I just picked it. That is all I got. That is the harvest I got from using this pot from spring until now. So I'm going to call this a fail. I'm not done with this variety yet. I want to give it one more shot. I think I'm going to try it in one of my stock tanks next spring and see if it does any better over there. It's a little bit shady over here sometimes, so I don't know if that will help or hurt, but I want to give it another try before I give it a thumbs down. So I will let you know about it. But for right now, growing it in this container over here where it gets at least 6 hours of sun a day was a no-go for this variety. But as we know, beans are nitrogen fixers, so this bean plant likely has nitrogen containing nodules on its roots, so I don't want to just yank the roots out of this pot. So what I'm going to do is trim the top off all the way down to the soil line, and then I will use that and chop it up and drop it someplace else in the garden as a green mulch. But I'm going to leave these roots in place because they are actually going going to be good for the soil. If you want your bean plants to release that nitrogen into the soil, you have to leave the roots in place, because if you rip all the roots out, all of those nitrogen containing nodules that the bean plant has fixed over the season are going to come right out with it, and then you're going to get nitrogen maybe in your compost pile or maybe in your trash can or wherever you put that bean plant, but it won't be in your soil. So make sure that you trim it off right at the roots. So you see where these roots come out? That is exactly where I'm going to cut it. Definitely not going to cut the irrigation line. I did that last year and that was not fun to have to replace them all. So cut it here, cut it here, and here. I think that may be it. Let's see if the whole plant will come. Yeah. Oh no, I actually have a few more stems, so let me get those too. And cut those. All right, now I will not waste that bean plant. I will chop it up and put it someplace else. So to prepare this pot, I'm just gonna take this irrigation line out, and then I can plant more easily in here. And I won't worry so much about chopping into the line like I did last time. So you see where this little bean stem is. I'm just gonna plant around that and it should be just fine. Now that I know that there are no black widows over here creeping about, I am gonna take these gloves off because it's really hard to handle tiny little seeds with gloves on. So just as a reminder, I'm doing the butterhead and I'm doing the little gem romaine. This one's 75 days. I'm gonna put that one in the back. And then this one is 35 to 50 days, and I'm gonna put that forward. And then I may put some radishes around the front. You wanna put the plants 10 to 16 inches apart. And honestly, I will probably go a little closer than that. I will probably go about 8 inches apart, and I'm gonna see how that does. Now, I wouldn't recommend that first go around if you don't have experience with the variety, but I planted this one last year, and so I know that that will be just fine for it. And this one says the same thing, 10 to 16 inches apart. You wanna plant your seed 1/8 of an inch deep. I'm putting these seeds in the back for these because I want to be able to harvest the ones in the front first and not worry so much about the ones in the back. So I'm going to put one seed here, and I'll put one here and one here. So maybe like 3 of them. So I'll do that. And then I know that doesn't seem like a lot, but we are going to talk about cut and come again varieties and why you can do less plants and more harvesting. But first, let's do our Tom Thumb variety right here. All right, so I'm gonna go straight across for him. I'm gonna do one there, and one there. So I like to avoid thinning if I can. So what I will do is come back through, and if I see that they haven't germinated and come up within a few days, then I will just replant. In such a small space, you can manage to do that, and then you don't waste your seeds, and you have plenty of time to look after them. So I have reserved some space for these radishes. These are the Early Scarlet Globe from Seed Savers Exchange, and it says that you need to have them 2 to 3 inches apart. So that is what that's what I'll do. I'm just gonna pour these into my hand, and I grew these last year and they are beautiful. So I'm just gonna do a little row right in the front. And radishes don't need a lot of space, so I could get quite a few here, I think. And all right, and it's as easy as that. So I have 2 kinds of lettuce and I have radishes here. So that it's done, I'm just going to replace that irrigation line, and let me put this little spike in here. That way it won't go anywhere. And that's really it. That is as simple as it gets. Now you can mulch once your plants come up. You can mulch around them if you'd like to, but that's up to you. So let's move on to this other one. I love being able to grow lettuce because you can use something called the cut and come again method. And that just means that when the lettuce is at a more mature size, you can start harvesting from the outside of the plant and harvest those bigger leaves on the outside. But you can leave the center portion to keep growing. And as you do that, you will be able to harvest again and again and again. And that is why it is called the cut and come again method. So if you're growing in a small space, try to select lettuce varieties that will allow you to do that. A head lettuce, you harvest it once and you're done. But if you have a loose leaf lettuce or a bib lettuce, and sometimes these little baby romaines, you can do that too if you're careful. Not always, but sometimes. It depends on the variety. Then those are best because you can harvest from them over and over again. So make sure that you choose varieties that will allow you to do that, and then you can get more food out of a smaller space. So in this one, I'm going to be doing an alternating little pattern of these baby romaines. One is red and one is green. They're of similar size, and I think this is going to look really pretty. So let's plant those. All right, so these say that they need to be 10 to 16 inches apart too, but I am going to be fudging. I think it would be fun to do a little circular pattern. So I think what I'll do is I am going to do a little circle pattern of the red on the outside, and then I'm going to do the green on the inside. So let me just make sure I'm not too over ambitious with my space because I don't want them to be crowded. But I think this will be really pretty. I had planted a little circular pattern last year with my lettuce, and it was so beautiful. And who doesn't want to have a little style with your salad garden, you know? All right, so I'm gonna do just a few of these in this space. So red on the outside, green on the inside, and it's gonna be so beautiful. Maybe I will put one little green lettuce in the middle. Well, I don't know. I'm not sure I'll have room for that. So I think I'll have to be satisfied with that. And because I did it in a circular pattern, I'm not going to do any radishes in here because I think that it would disturb the roots on those too much. But won't that be so cute? All right, make sure that you remember to mark your pots as you go so that you're not forgetting what you planted where. I'm going to replace this irrigation line and then we'll be good to go. Just like with the lettuce, for these bok choy, I'm going to be putting the taller growing and the later to mature in the back, and then I'm going to be putting the quicker ones, the little tiny ones, the little he-do ones, into the front. That way I can get at those sooner. And what I did last year that worked really well is as I picked each one of these little bok choys, I would replace it with a seed. And that way I had an endless supply of bok choy until I got sick of them. So that is what I'm going to be doing again this time. And that is a form of succession planting. And for those of you who don't know, succession planting is basically planting something in intervals, either every couple weeks or so, or planting as you harvest, so that way you always have something coming out of the garden and you don't have that gap of waiting for the seed to mature and being able to eat it again. All right, so just look how quick that was. Just as we were chit-chatting there, I was able to plant all of these bok choy. So I'm going to put this back in, and now I'm going to show you how I protect all of my seedlings from the birds. So those birds love little sprouts. They really love beets and lettuce and all those little baby greens, and I guess you can't really blame them. So let's go grab something to protect our stuff with. All right, these should do it. Let me take those over there. I love these chicken wire cloches. I got these several years ago from Gardener's Supply. I'm not sure if they still sell them. I will check and see, and if they do, I will leave the link below for you. They're a little bit pricey, but I've been using these for like 5 years now, and they look brand new, so hopefully they will more than pay for themselves. So all I do is just set them right on top. Let me show you. I know this doesn't look so great right now, but it'll be fine, and in a few weeks I can take those off and I will have beautiful, colorful combination pots. All right, let's look at the stock tank. Now it's time to harvest this basil. That always makes me a little bit sad because I hate cutting plants down, especially when they're still doing well. But this one is standing in the way of progress, and so I am just going to go ahead and remove it. I am not going to dry this one. I honestly don't think that dried basil tastes as good as fresh basil. It just loses that special basil flavor. But what is really good is chopping it up, putting it into ice cube trays, and then covering it with oil, olive oil, and then freezing that. And once those are frozen, you can pop those cubes out into a Ziploc bag, and it's really good. If you're interested in seeing how I do it, I have a short that I will link down below, and you can check that out. Oh, so sad. I don't know if I'll have time to freeze this one, honestly, but I have more out in the garden. So I think this one is just going to go to the compost pile. And if I could, I would send you the delicious scent of this basil. It smells so good. In fact, I've got some eggplants over there. I think I might have to harvest them and have some Italian food tonight with this basil. Definitely wearing gloves for this because of those little spiders. I do not want to have any spider bites today or any day. I think my lavender needs a little bit of a haircut, so I'm going to just trim it up a bit so that way it shares the space a little better with everybody else. I'm going to be putting Tom Thumb peas in the front, and I've had a bit of a change of heart. Instead of the chives, I think I'm going to keep those separate and put them in a pot someplace else, and instead I am going to be putting in my prism kale, and I will put that in the center of this tub. That way I've got the low growing peas in the front and the kale in the back. And I think that's going to be a beautiful combination. I just love these Tom Thumb peas. They are so cute. They're like little fairy peas. It says to plant them 1 inch deep and 4 inches apart. And they are frost hardy, which is really nice. And these Tom Thumb peas are unique because they are actually an heirloom. So that is pretty cool. Just gonna do my little row here and just put them right in here 2 to 3 inches apart. You could soak them beforehand and that would work, but this time I am just going for speed and efficiency, and I'm not going to worry about that. And I will just keep the soil a little extra moist and it should do just fine. So I'm going to have 1 row of those, and then I will put in my carrots right here and then my kale. Now for the carrots, let's just put those right in. These are supposed to be mature in 65 days, and you're supposed to have them every 2 inches. So let's do that. Had to take my glove off because I can't handle these tiny little seeds with a big bulky glove on. So we'll see how well I do with the spacing. I may have to come through and thin these. We'll see about that. And it says to do them 1/4 inch deep. I see I have my trench a little too deep, so I will have to just sprinkle some of the soil on top so that way I don't get them too deep. And lastly is the prism kale. I love this kale so much. It was a beautiful, very compact, very pretty plant, and it was delicious. I got so much food off of those plants last year. And these say, just so you know, 1/4 inch deep and 12 to 24 inches apart. So I will try to control myself and not plant them too close together. All right, and that is it. I've got my irrigation lines pretty much on top of the rows that I had planted. Now I'm gonna go get another cover so that I can cover these from those naughty little birds. With just 4 flower pots and a 4-foot stock tank, which I use as a raised bed, I've got an entire salad garden. And through succession planting and using the cut and come again method, as well as interplanting radishes and carrots and other different things, I can keep my salad bowl full all winter long, and so can you. Let me know what you are planting in your containers and on your patios. I would really love to know. I am always on the lookout for more varieties so that I can share those with other people. I'm Kara from So Arizona. Thank you so much for watching. Until next time, happy gardening.